Yeah, what's up? Y'all know what it is. We are reacting to Biggie Last Words Alive leaked online real audio. Yeah, and as y'all can see, I got my Biggie shirt on, but yeah, look at this, bruh. I'm actually curious on like what Biggie said before he died because even though I seen the movie and y'all probably did too, but they didn't show none of this, okay? And as y'all see, this video is long, 30 minutes long, so kick back, grab some snacks, and let's dive into this investigation. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it.
Emergency, what are you reporting? We're man shot in our car right now.
Damn.
Hear me, baby?
Oh, and he
Biggie's
exhaling.
final audio from within the convoy of cars travelling to the hospital following a drive-by shooting
Was
has
him
been
exhaling?
made public from the emergency operator's archives. The audio which has been made public is the call for an ambulance made by members of the entourage, with the edited version containing 2 minutes and 16 seconds of the call being from the immediate aftermath and the drive to the hospital. In mirroring the Tupac shooting, the chaos contrasts the reported calmness of Tupac being reported by artist Idi Amin, who was at the scene, as he had claimed it was bizarre how calm and serene Tupac had been due to being shot before, which was associated to Biggie.
I just remember how
You
calm
never
he
know,
was.
that wasn't
he knows
true.
not to panic. You'll bleed out. So he was just very, very calm.
Biggie is believed to have died during the time of the call, with people in the comments claiming he is heard saying help and then taking his last breath.
Yeah.
This has been
Oh my
disputed
God,
by P.
bro.
Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill, who was at the scene, as he had claimed Biggie's last words were "just do it," being in response to them telling him that they were gonna get him to the hospital before leaving.
I'm gonna get you to the hospital, Big. Big said, just do it. The last thing I heard Big say was, just do it.
Biggie, however, was probably dead sometime during the call, as Gene Dill, who had helped take him out of the car, had claimed that he was dead on arrival. In this video,
Damn,
we're
bro.
going to piece together all the different types of media which were captured on the specific night of the incident and its connection into the suspects of the crime. Biggie's final week before losing his life has been captured throughout several different pieces of media. Biggie had been flown out to California in the last weeks of February of 1997 in order to promote his album Life After Death and record a music video for
Hey, absolute classic too.
its lead single Hypnotize. Kirk Burroughs, the president of Biggie's label Bad Boy, had revealed that the trip's schedule was budgeted for the 23rd of February to the 8th of March 1997. P. Diddy, the owner of Bad Boy, had joined them in the trip to feature in the Hypnotize video and work on his own debut solo album No Way Out. Biggie had carried out an interview with BET on February 24th, 1997, while being on set for shooting the Hypnotize video. Biggie had been questioned about the death of Tupac, which had taken place 6 months earlier in Las Vegas. Biggie claimed he wasn't surprised when Tupac had been shot due to him being shot before in 1994, but he was shocked when the news had broken of Tupac's death.
So when they was like he got shot, I was just more like,
Oh yeah, I seen
when
this.
he
Yeah,
died, I
I
was just
seen
like,
this.
whoa.
He had also claimed that he was in California to go to nightclubs and radio stations in an attempt to squash the beef which the media had promoted as the East Coast West Coast beef.
That's why I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? We hitting every club, every radio station, because he can't do that. You know what I'm saying? He can't be the one to be like, yo, I want to squash it, because he's gone.
The beef originated in a 1994 shooting of Tupac taking place in a Manhattan recording studio lobby while Biggie and P. Diddy had been upstairs. Biggie had been questioned in the BET interview as to why he had stayed silent during the beef, as Tupac had been outspoken publicly, such as in his diss track Hit 'Em Up. Biggie claimed he chose to stay out of it as what he was being accused of wasn't true, which was that he set up Tupac in '94.
Yeah, he
What
set
I
him
knew
up.
I was getting blamed for wasn't true. I can't speak for nothing else.
Biggie appeared on the Sway & King Tech Wake Up Show in Los Angeles on March 1st, 1997. Biggie, while on the radio show, was once again questioned about the East Coast West Coast beef. Biggie had then performed his verses from Long Kiss Goodnight and You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You, which had been seen as a Tupac diss with lyrics such as, quote, "As I leave my competition, respirator style," unquote. This is in knowing that Tupac was on a respirator in the hospital due to having a lung removed from being shot in Las Vegas. More lyrics included, quote, "Slugs missed ya, I ain't mad at ya," unquote. This was believed to be in reference to Tupac's song I Ain't Mad at Ya. Biggie was seen as being in Los Angeles dissing Tupac after he had died, and people had phoned into the radio station making death threats towards Biggie. On March 5th, Biggie did
just
a
like in the
radio
movie, bro.
interview with
Yeah,
the
like, bro,
Doghouse
like
and
I saw that in the movie too, like that, that one scene. Yeah.
KYLD in San Francisco. Biggie was questioned on his security measures due to the East Coast-West Coast beef, but had claimed he was not fearing for his safety. These had been the last interviews Biggie had carried out before being killed. Surveillance photos of Biggie and P. Diddy had been captured by detectives on March 7, 1997. Documentary filmmaker Nick Broomfield, who had made the 2002 documentary Biggie and Tupac, had gotten in touch with the detective who had captured the photos. Nick Broomfield had tried to get the detective to give over information as to why he had Biggie and P. Diddy under surveillance on the night of the crime, but the agent refused to answer.
Hello, is that Detective?
It would be, yes.
I was just wondering what it was that you were investigating at the time.
I wouldn't discuss it with you.
Oh, you wouldn't discuss it?
No.
Biggie's FBI files were released in 2011 under the Freedom of Information Act, which had put forward the reason why the agents had Biggie and P. Diddy under surveillance. The documents written up in 2002 reveal that 2 agents were carrying out the surveillance on Biggie and P. Diddy. One of them had been from the New York Police Department's Major Case Squad. This is a unit of the NYPD which contains specialized detectives who investigate crimes beyond the scope of normal officers. The NYPD also had a rap intelligence unit, which was the first specialized unit assigned for crime in hip-hop. Derek Parker was the detective assigned to head the department and had arrested P. Diddy in 1999 for gun violations. The second investigator who was captured...
It's crazy, bro. Like, he was arrested then, and now he arrested now, if y'all know.
Surveillance in 1997 had been from the US Department of the Treasury. Investigators from the Treasury are usually tasked with investigating crimes of an economic and fiscal matter. The FBI documents claim that agents had Biggie and P. Diddy under surveillance for investigations relating to gun violations and possible murders. The surveillance photos, which were released in the 2002 documentary, are from Biggie and P. Diddy making their entrance to the Soul Train Music Awards, which had taken place the day before Biggie was shot. Biggie presented an award to Toni Braxton for Best Female R&B Soul Singer and had been booed while presenting it. Lil C's, being Biggie's artist under the rap group Junior Mafia, had confirmed in the 2002 documentary to have seen the detectives recording them during the time. Biggie was attending a Vibe magazine after party which was taking place in the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, being on the night of March 8th, with it drifting into the early hours of the 9th. Biggie was alternatively supposed to be in London, as he was supposed to catch a flight on a night which was cancelled through the persuasion of P. Diddy. Kirk Burroughs revealed in a 2022 interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that Bad Boy's distributors Arista, through Clive Davis, had set up an international press junket for Biggie's upcoming album Life After Death. Biggie was supposed to board a flight in the early morning of March 8th, being for a 2-day trip in London to promote the album. P. Diddy, on the night before Biggie was supposed to board the flight to London, had called Kirk Burroughs and told him to cancel Biggie's flight to London and to inform Arista that he wasn't going to make it. DJ Clark Kent, who was with Biggie at the time, claimed on a YouTube channel Math Hoffa that P. Diddy and D-Rock had set it up for Biggie to be at the party. Someone was filming within the party, with many notable people of 90s hip-hop being seen in the footage. A YouTube video claims Biggie's killer can be identified in the footage, communicating with the driver supplied to P. Diddy, being an off-duty LA cop called Kenneth Story. LAPD Detective Russell Paul, who had worked with NYPD Rap Intelligence Unit Detective Derek Parker on investigating the Biggie murder, had supplied the FBI with the 2002 documents which allege a conspiracy between LAPD officers in the murder of Biggie. P. Diddy had upward of 5 off-duty LAPD officers doing security for him while in Los Angeles. 2 of the 5 Inglewood officers who were working for P. Diddy in LA during the time were released in the book Labyrinth by Randall Sullivan as being Officer Reggie Blaylock and Officer Kenneth Story. The officers had not been sanctioned by the police department to carry out the work and were working without permits under private security. P. Diddy also had his usual bodyguard Gene Deal with him, who was assigned to protect P. Diddy, but also watched out for Biggie and can be seen in pictures guarding him at their table at the party. Former Southside Compton Crip shot caller Keefy D, who was arrested in September of 2023 for the murder of Tupac Shakur, had claimed in a secretly recorded confession tape published in a 2015 documentary Murder Rap that he had approached P. Diddy and Biggie at the table, but P. Diddy had told him to back off, saying that the feds were all over him. LAPD Detective Russell Paul had put forward claims that his investigation into the Biggie Smalls murder leads into suspects of the LAPD Rampart Division, such as officers David Mack and
Oh yeah,
Rafael
bro, I seen this dude, bro. This the dude that they was comparing to the officer Tenpenny from San Andreas, GTA San Andreas.
Tupac's former manager, Leela Steinberg, had trained David Mack in track prior to him joining the police force. Leela Steinberg had been at the Vibe party, and in the 2021 documentary Last Man Standing by Nick Broomfield, she had identified David Mack and Rafael Perez as being at the party. Leela Steinberg claimed in a documentary to have created a connection between Officer David Mack and the music industry, with her claiming it occurred in 1994 after inviting David Mack to a music video which Tupac was directing for Mac Moore and Ray Love, where David Mack had then gotten work for off-duty security following it. Undercover asset for the FBI, Kevin Hackey, who had infiltrated Death Row Records by posing as a bodyguard, had been interviewed by Russell Paul to get information on if there was a Rampart connection into Death Row. Transcripts of the interview were published in the book Labyrinth. A detective investigates the murders of Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G., written by Randall Sullivan, which reads, quote, Hackey provided numerous places and dates where he had seen Mack and or Perez with Suge Knight, beginning with the Black Image Award shows at the Beverly Hills Hotel in 1995, unquote. In the Last Man Standing documentary, Snoop Dogg's cousin Joe Cool, along with artist C-Style, claimed to have seen Rafael Perez and David Mack around Death Row. In Nick Broomfield's interview with former LAPD Chief Bernard Parks, he had also claimed that officers had worked off duty for Death Row. Although the cops were identified by Leela Steinberg as being at the Vibe magazine party, they have not yet been witnessed in the footage of the party. The Vibe magazine after party was shut down by the fire department at around 12:30 in the morning on March 9th. Biggie and P. Diddy, while leaving the party, had been caught on tape by people from Houston who were attending the event. The detectives who had them under investigation were also recording them. While outside, Gene Deal had seen a man approaching dressed in a blue and white striped shirt. This person has been seen in the footage of the night and has become known as the mystery of the striped shirt guy. The striped shirt guy is also mentioned in police reports as approaching P. Diddy and Biggie before leaving. Gene Deal claimed the striped shirt guy didn't say anything to them and had turned around after getting close up. The striped shirt guy has never been identified. A second man had then approached P. Diddy and Gene Deal, who Gene had identified as Amir Muhammad, who Gene Deal claimed was dressed in a Fruits of Islam uniform. Amir Muhammad, who is also known as Harry Billups, was rumored to have been a member of the Nation of Islam who was involved in carrying out hits. However, he has denied these claims and says he is involved in real estate and was not present on the night of the incident. Gene Deal identified Amir Muhammad in a photo lineup in the 2002 documentary Biggie and Tupac as approaching P. Diddy before Gene Deal had brandished his gun, where he claims Amir had then walked off into the direction of the shooter's vehicle. Gene Deal confirmed that authorities showed him a picture of surveillance being of this confrontation with Amir Muhammad, but they had blurred out the face of the suspect. It was captured by the detectives who had been carrying out the surveillance, with Gene Deal revealing the image showed they was in a vantage point in a building opposite the museum, with the only building there now being a consulate general building. The video shows P. Diddy's car in the lead with Gene Deal getting in the back seat. Gene Deal revealed P. Diddy had put his seat all the way back, not leaving Gene Deal any legroom. The video shows the cars driving off and then distorts into a sound of gunfire, followed by the aftermath of people rushing to Biggie's car.
They was focused on Biggie's car when the shots were fired. Camera just went shaky, shaky, shake, like, you're nervous.
The tape has been edited, not showing the full footage, as a lot more had happened which had been cut out, such as P. Diddy's car running a red light, and Biggie's car stopping at the light where the shooting occurred. The scene of the aftermath can be matched with audio of the call to emergency services. The shooting had occurred at around 1:45 in the morning, with the phone calls to the emergency services taking place shortly afterwards. An edited version of the audio, only revealing 2 minutes and 16 seconds of the call, had been released in a 2015 documentary Murder Rap. The audio begins with the callers giving the address of Fairfax and Wilshire, saying that they have a man shot. People in the comments
Damn,
claim
bro.
it was Stevie J and Tone who had made the calls from the scene. The background ambience can be heard with numerous screaming spectators and someone yelling, "Get into the hospital, get into the car."
What?
People in the comments claimed Biggie can be heard asking for help along with his last breath. But this is untrue, as Gene Deal had revealed Biggie's last words were "just do it" when being told that they were going to get him to the hospital prior to taking off to go there. Gene Deal
Oh my
claimed
God,
Biggie's
bro.
eyes had rolled into the back of his head and he slumped back after saying "just do it." Gene Deal claimed he told everybody to keep Biggie awake and to continue talking to him so he doesn't fall asleep, being so he remains conscious. The comments claim off-duty LAPD cop Kenneth Story can be heard saying "Big, you hear me baby?" indicating that Biggie had already become unresponsive while driving to the hospital.
Big, you hear me, baby?
Parts of the audio may be combined or may be taken from two different parts of the night, as first the caller claims there is a man shot in their car, then directly follows up by saying there is a person shot in the car in front.
We're man shot in our car right now.
Listen, is the party that was shot in your car?
No.
Okay, you said you're going to the hospital?
Right in front of me.
The caller is then heard arguing with the off-duty cop Kenneth Story, who had been the driver going to the hospital, telling him he was going the wrong way.
Yo, you gotta go back. You gotta turn around, Jimmy. You're going the wrong way.
The people can be heard arguing about the description of the
Nah,
shooter's
bro.
vehicle, claiming it was a new model, which is then followed up by saying Biggie is hit. The operator then asked the caller to pull over and allow an ambulance to come to them, but they refused the request.
If you want your friend to live, we're going to send him here and see if you pull over.
I can't do that.
The audio finishes shortly
Bro.
after, as the cars had made it to Cedar Sinai Hospital. Gene Deal helped pull
And
Biggie
another
out
thing,
of the
bro,
car.
why do I get the feeling that, like, bro, the driver, like, he did that on purpose? Like, he didn't want to get Big to the hospital, man.
At the hospital and revealed he knew that Biggie was dead on arrival due to Big's body relieving itself. The doctors had performed an emergency thoracotomy, which is when the chest is opened up to give access to the heart and lungs. Biggie's autopsy report had been released in 2012 and had revealed that 3 of the 4 shots were non-fatal, hitting his arm, back and groin, with it being the 4th bullet which was fatal, passing through many major organs including his heart. Biggie showed no sign of life on arrival and a cardiac massage had taken place, with the emergency thoracotomy being in an attempt to revive him. Attempts of revival were unsuccessful and Biggie was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m.
Damn, bro.
Suspects have been linked to the different pieces of media which were released connected to the crime. The blue and white striped shirt guy caught on tape has been outlined by several different platforms, such as Vlad TV doing a deep dive on the person seen in the video. Both P. Diddy's bodyguard Gene Deal and P. Diddy's director of security Paul Offord had made a note of the striped shirt guy. Calls to emergency services documented after the shooting described a man in his late 20s with a long-sleeved blue and white striped shirt as crouching behind a
Yeah, but
car
he did
in
it
a
on
parking
purpose,
garage
man.
holding a gun. A couple who had witnessed the shooting and had phoned the police had claimed the striped shirt guy had been the shooter. Documentary filmmaker Mike Dorsey, when speaking of the suspect, said, quote, "To my knowledge, the striped shirt guy is the only person captured in this video to ever be identified by a witness as being one of the suspicious individuals in the garage that night, but they still don't know who he was." Unquote. That's the main information out there about the striped shirt guy who was captured on video. A YouTube video of footage from within the Vibe party claimed to have captured one of the suspects, described as wearing a Fruits of Islam uniform, as talking with P. Diddy's off-duty LAPD security within the party. The video, however, only shows the back of a person's head being in a suit with a blue shirt looking at a man in red gesturing. The comments claim the man in red is Kenneth Story, the LAPD cop who had been providing security for P. Diddy. This opens up the lead of a person in a Fruits of Islam uniform being the shooter of Biggie. The theory of the Nation of Islam murdering Biggie have been looked into by investigators, which brought back several different stories pertaining to the theory. Lil C's, who was in the seat behind Biggie and had witnessed the shooting, described the shooter as wearing a suit and bow tie similar to the Nation of Islam. Gene Deal identified who he
Wait,
believed
so basically, like, it wasn't like some. So it wasn't like fans of Pac or anything like that. It was this.
Muhammad in the Nation of Islam uniform as approaching them before the shooting had taken place, then walking off into the direction of the shooter's vehicle. Gene Dill claimed P. Diddy...
Because honestly, like at first, like I thought, like it was Pac's like ride or die fans of like who did something like this, bro. But turns out it wasn't.
Confrontation with the Nation of Islam at the Soul Train Music Awards, as a member was adamant about telling P. Diddy something and had repeatedly blocked him from exiting, being in an attempt to give him a message, but Farrakhan's son Mustafa had stepped in order to remove the member away from P. Diddy. A former member of the Nation of Islam by the name of Clayton Hill had claimed in 2011 that he was involved in the murder of Biggie, and he had delivered the murder weapon to Emil Muhammad, being the personal driver of Minister Louis Farrakhan. Clayton Hill claimed to have been instructed by Minister Tony Muhammad, the Western Regional Minister of the Nation of Islam, in mid-May of 1997, to pick up an individual from the Greyhound bus station in Atlanta who had been coming from Los Angeles. Clayton Hill had claimed he had picked up a person using the name of Dawood Muhammad, who he had later identified as Amir Muhammad, who had given him the suspected murder weapon and told him he was on the run for the murder and was associated to the LA Blood street gang. Clayton Hill claimed to have passed on the suspected murder weapon to Emil Muhammad, being the personal driver of Minister Farrakhan, who he claimed had then taken it to a high-ranking official within the Chicago headquarters of the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam theory then gets tied into the Rampart division of the LAPD. Amir Muhammad was the godparent of the son to LAPD Rampart cop David Mack, who Tupac's former manager Leela Steinberg had been training at the time. Kenneth Boagni was an inmate who was the cellmate to LAPD Rampart cop Rafael Perez. This image shows Rafael Perez and David Mack together, with Mack being dressed in the colours of the Blood Street Gang. Kenneth Boagni had his statements about what Rafael Perez had allegedly told him in prison submitted in the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Biggie's estate against the LAPD. Kenneth claimed Rafael Perez had told him that Amir Muhammad had allegedly have been contracted by David Mack to carry out the hit on Biggie. The inmate further claimed to have been told that it was $1 million bounty on both P. Diddy and Biggie, and the cops had allegedly been paid $250,000 up front. The LAPD theory stretches further into the security which had been provided to P. Diddy, which resulted in officers being suspended for supplying unauthorized work. Driver Kenneth Story was an off-duty LAPD cop who was responsible for getting the vehicles for P. Diddy and Biggie. The cars which had been provided to them were two Suburbans which had government chips installed in them. Suburbans from 1995 to 1998 included a mandatory chip inside them which would cut off the fuel supply, being when the vehicle would reach 90 miles per hour, not allowing the vehicle to travel at the higher speeds. P. Diddy's Suburban was the lead car while Biggie's Suburban was behind them. Then behind Biggie was P. Diddy's Director of Security, Paul Offord, with Inglewood officer Reggie Blaylock as the driver. The Director of Security and Inglewood officer confirmed that a white SUV had tried to cut off their car and remove it from being behind Biggie in an attempt to intercept the convoy, but had failed to do so. Kenneth Boagni's court documents had claimed that Perez had told him that LAPD Rampart cop Kevin Gaines had allegedly been given a task to intercept the convoy so both Biggie and P. Diddy could be shot. He claimed to have been told the original plan was one car in front and one car behind as a blockade, so two people could then come out and shoot both. Gene Dill told the driver of P. Diddy's Suburban, being LAPD cop Kenneth Story, to run the red light, which was believed to have saved P. Diddy's life. Kevin Gaines was an LAPD Rampart cop who had been murdered by a fellow cop 9 days after the Biggie murder. LAPD detective Russell Paul had investigated the officer's death, and it came to find out he had been having an affair with Suge Knight's wife Sharifa Knight, who was a manager of Death Row artists. The Rampart division had now become associated to Death Row Records. Kenneth Boagni's court documents had claimed Kevin Gaines had failed to intercept the car which had left the hit incomplete, and as a result, the cops were not given the remaining $750,000. David Mack had robbed the Bank of America in November of 1997, being 8 months after the Biggie murder. Mack and Perez, along with the daughter of Police Chief Bernard Parks, had gone to Las Vegas following the robbery. Bernard Parks' daughter had reportedly have been dating Rafael Perez. David Mack had stolen $722,000, which still remains unaccounted for, and Kenneth Boagni claimed it was used to pay Amir Muhammad. Biggie's FBI documents claim the same tactics used in the bank robbery were used in the Biggie Smalls murder, which included using police scanners and radios to monitor the police frequencies, along with having a gun fired on the opposite side of the surrounding area. to draw attention and authorities away from the scene. David Mack's home was raided in December of '97, where detectives had found a black SS Chevy Impala with chrome wheels, matching the description of the shooter's vehicle. Gecko 9mm armor-piercing bullets used in the Biggie murder had also been found in his home, going to the extent of being buried under his floorboards. The bullets are usually sold to the police through military surplus sales. According to Clayton Hill, the former Nation of Islam member, Amir Muhammad had been staying in a safe house for 6 weeks to lay low after the shooting, where he had then travelled to Atlanta and was picked up by Clayton Hill. Clayton Hill had claimed Amir Muhammad had removed the murder weapon from a black garbage bag and had then given it to Clayton Hill, who had gone on to pass it to Amir Muhammad, being Minister Farrakhan's personal driver. The gun continued to hold a magazine of Gecko 9mm armor-piercing bullets, which were believed to have been supplied by David Mack. Amir Muhammad had allegedly gotten the $722,000 from David Mack after the robbery. Amir Muhammad was then found to have been on the visiting list of David Mack after he was incarcerated for the robbery. LAPD detective Russell Paul and FBI agent Phil Carson were both going to arrest David Mack and Amir Muhammad for the murder of Biggie Smalls, being based on these claims and the evidence found, but their superiors had told them to step down due to it causing a scandal. Biggie's mother, Valletta Wallace, had filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the LAPD, being on the basis that the LAPD had sufficient evidence to arrest the gunman but had failed to do so. David Mack and Amir Muhammad were originally named as defendants in the civil suit, but were dropped shortly before the trial had begun after the LAPD and FBI had dismissed them as suspects. Suge Knight and Death Row Records head of security Reggie Wright Jr. had also been requested to be named as defendants, but were also dropped. Reggie Wright Jr. was a former Compton cop who provided police security for Death Row Records, but no documentation has ever linked the security service to the Rampart Division. The only known connection of the Rampart Division into Death Row Records was between Kevin Gaines and Sharifa Knight. Kevin Hackey was also a former Compton School District cop who had been contracted by the FBI to act as an asset, being in infiltrating Death Row Records by posing as a bodyguard. As Hackey had originally given Russell Paul numerous dates and locations where he had witnessed David Mack and Rafael Perez providing security, he was called in to testify during the trial. Hackey's counsel expressed extreme fear and reluctance for him to voluntarily participate in the trial. The city of Los Angeles fought an earlier motion to preserve Hackey's testimony and the court had denied it, and as a result an arrest warrant was issued to compel Hackey's testimony. NBC News reported that Hackey had originally testified that his former boss, Reginald Wright, promised to get Biggie. Kevin Hackey had then later claimed to have suffered from memory lapses due to medication, and as a result could not provide a truthful and reliable testimony. In the case of Kenneth Boagny's statement of Rafael Perez in the trial, it became known as the $1 million testimony, as the LAPD were fined $1.1 million for suppressing the testimony. He had gotten the information from his cellmate Rafael Perez, who had been arrested in 1998 for stealing contraband out of the evidence locker, which investigators believe was going to be used to frame the cop who had killed Kevin Gaines. Rafael Perez had then exposed the Rampart scandal for a reduced sentence. This civil suit against the LAPD had been for $500 million, and it had prevented FBI agent Phil Carson from testifying against the LAPD, as he would have solidified a winning judgment in favor of Biggie's estate. The US government in response had set up a new task force to offer a counterclaim which excluded the LAPD from the murder so that the lawsuit could be dismissed. Former cop of the LAPD Greg Kading had been given a job of heading a task force to find a new theory of who had murdered Biggie, which did not include the LAPD. Greg Kading's task force had identified Suge Knight's ex-girlfriend Tammy Hawkins as a potential conspirator in the Biggie murder. The task force claimed she had allegedly have been involved in a number of criminal fronts on Suge Knight's behalf, and Kading believed she knew about the Biggie murder. Greg Kading's task force then falsified a confession letter, which was then presented to Tammy Hawkins, where she was told that her kids would be taken off of her and she could serve jail time, being if she didn't cooperate with the fake letter. The fake letter, which was dated as April Fool's Day, had also came with falsified documents of a blood gang member called Wardell Pucci Faust, with the fake documents appearing as police records to go with the falsified letter. The fake letter had been written by the task force from the perspective of Poochie confessing to the Biggie murder. Wardell Poochie Faust was a notorious Blood gang member associated to Suge Knight, who was known for allegedly having caught bodies in the past. The fake confession letter named Tammy Hawkins as conspiring with Poochie, to which the task force told her to cooperate with the letter or lose her kids and end up in prison. Tammy Hawkins, under this basis, went on to tell Kading that during multiple prison visits while Suge Knight was in Mule Creek State Prison in 1997, she had assisted him with getting information back to the Bloods to murder Biggie, being in retaliation for Tupac's death. She had told Kading that she'd got in touch with Poochie, with the bounty being $25K. She had claimed to have met up with Poochie at a Denny's in Lakewood, California, where she claimed to have told Poochie that he would get paid after the hit was done. Former Death Row head of security Reggie Wright Jr., who was once implicated in the cop theory, had claimed in Greg Kading's murder rap documentary how the general manager of Death Row Records, Norris Anderson, had inquired on how to get $25K to one of Suge Knight's female associates, which was believed to be Tammy Hawkins. Tammy Hawkins told the task force that $9,000 was transferred into her account, which was then withdrawn and given to Poochie 2 weeks after the shooting, and an additional $4,000 was then also set to be given. She had then allegedly kept the extra $12,000 being as part of her role in the plot. Wardell Faust also had a dark-coloured Chevy SS Impala which matched the description of the shooter's vehicle, which had been purchased for him by Suge Knight. A photo had been released of the same car matching the shooter's vehicle being by One Stop Auto, which was Suge Knight's personal auto shop in Monte, California in the 90s. The owner of the car has never been identified. Poochie was never identified as being at the scene of the Biggie murder, whereas the LAPD Rampart cops were by Leila Steinberg and other witnesses which were included in the FBI documents. This information, which was created from falsified documents by Greg Kading's task force to counteract the LAPD theory, went on to drop the $500 million lawsuit against the LAPD by 2010. In this video, we took a look into the final pieces of media being in the last moments of Biggie's life. The different types of footage have brought up questions about potential suspects in the case. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, bro. First of all, rest in peace, Biggie, bro. And like, bro, it's crazy because like at first, like I thought like it was Tupac's riding down fans that killed Biggie, but I guess it wasn't. And also, bro, Biggie and Pac, bro, they died over nothing, bro. Like this stupid beef, man. Like, imagine like what it would be like if they was here today. Yeah, bro. Yeah, but I guess this still contain a mystery. And bro, you can also like tell like in like the voice call, like he was gasping for breath, like he been hit like real bad, like he's trying to breathe, but man, he was gone too soon. But anyway, hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, and I'm going.